Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Young. I'm just going to walk you through issues facing the Manitoba as they go to a general election in the next month. And my presentation is going to be only one perspective, and you're more entitled to go and do future research on the issues that are facing Manitoba. So basically, my goal has always been is to try to get information out so people can make informed decisions. So I'll talk about government deficits, I'll talk about the debt, I'll talk about healthcare, education, taxation, and the economy. Let's talk about Manitoba's deficits. They're still running considerable deficits to GDP, basically to 22%. They don't seem to be able to get below that. There seems to be no real urgency of the government to kind of get its fiscal house in order. The only issues they seem to be able to address is higher taxations. And that seems to be the only thing that you're hearing from the Manitoba government. Their debt rating was downgraded, and anytime you get a downgrading of a debt, that forces up the premium of those bonds, and that forces up the cost of interest. Therefore, you're going to pay a higher cost of interest. Also, today's debts, tomorrow's higher taxes or spending cuts. Let's talk about the tax burden. Manitoba is up there in the world in terms of its tax burden, and it makes sense because you've got an NDP government in power there, and they typically tend to tax higher, to be more of a socialistic government like the Swedens and Portugals of the world. So as you can see in this particular chart, their combined federal and provincial tax is about 50%. Now, that being said, the NDP government has got a proposal to tax the rich. Well, taxing the rich doesn't do anything. It actually doesn't bring in the revenue that the government thinks it is. It's more of an optic decision to kind of tax the rich, but it doesn't work. They're talking about low income tax cuts for the low income earners, but those typically have a little bit of an impact, but not enough. And he's hiked the PST in the past. Let's talk about the healthcare system. The Manitoba healthcare system is one of the worst in Ontario. It's got a D rating from the Conference Board of Canada. You're going to see the rhetoric from ministers saying that they've thrown some money at it to fix it, and they're also going to say it's a lot to do with the systemic issues with healthcare, but to me it's about delivery. And for the past 10 years or so, the NDP government in power there has not done a sufficient good a job at delivering healthcare dollars in a most efficient and effective manner. And that's what it's about. We can flog a dead horse all we want, but the reality is we have to look for value for money, and we have to get efficiency and effectiveness out of our healthcare dollars. Educational system. There's been some improvements. That's what the NDP will tell you that, but there's still the scores are still showing pretty low in terms of the school grades in like science, math, and reading. Those are critical areas if you're going to try to grow an economy, especially in the knowledge base or advanced manufacturing. Let's talk about small business. If you look at this chart from the CFIB, you'll see here Manitoba got a failure in 2016, a D rating. The regulatory burden and all the other taxation processes in programs in there has been a burdensome to businesses. If it's a burdensome to businesses, they're going to look elsewhere to expand their business, or they may not even come to Manitoba at all. The economy in Manitoba is kind of diversified. It's really driving a lot of it, the transportation equipment like New Flyer Industries or aerospace. It's pretty diversified in terms of food processing, and Winnipeg's a key gateway port for inland movement of grain shipments. So there's some upsides. But it's also imperative the next government that gets into Manitoba that it gets its fiscal house in order, including making strategic investments in infrastructure as well as getting its debt and deficits under control. If we look at economic forecasts now, Manitoba is looking like they're going to grow about 2.4% and 2.6% in 2017. Now, the mining sector is a key driver here, and due to regulatory burdens there as well, they've struggled. They've actually dropped in the latest Fraser study that shows basically investment, and Manitoba relies on the mining sector, and that's a critical area. Plus, too, no disrespect to the Manitoba government, it wouldn't matter what government's in power. We're still in a period of low commodity prices. This is just an idea where the Chamber of Commerce has put out proposals to Manitoba, all parties, in terms of what they're doing, and you're going to see here taxation levels, burdens. You're going to talk about innovation funds. You're going to talk about just a whole different things that better support this businesses in Manitoba. Poverty ranking. You would think with you have a socialistic government that you would see poverty rates coming down, but they haven't improved significantly in Manitoba, and that's something that should be in debate in terms of what the next government is going to do to kind of reduce the poverty levels. Hydro rates. Manitoba Hydro has got some of the best, most affordable rates. It's one of the reasons why Manitoba is attractive for business investments, the hydro rates. However, that being said, there needs to be a revisit of how they're going to upgrade the grid in Manitoba and hopefully learn a little bit of the mistakes made in other provinces by going too much climate change in terms of green energy sources like wind or solar power. There needs to be a proper strategic decision on natural gas, liquid natural gas, or natural gas fired plants, as well as looking at hydroelectric expansion to kind of ensure that you get the bang for your dollar in terms of investment. Now, you people have an opportunity in this election to make a vote on who you want to choose as your next party. Take away the emotion and take a big holistic view of the issues. The issues in your province are significant challenges. You've had a premier in power and a party in power for over a decade that's brought very little in terms of opportunities to Manitobans, especially in the taxation and the cost of living there. It's something you need to think about in terms of what is better for you. Do you want to stay in course, or do you want to change in terms of somebody with a new direction, fresh new ideas? And that's something you have to make your decision when you go to the polls. Thank you.